He was my minister, mentor, boss, colleague, and more than anyone, impacted, inspired, provoked, shaped my ministry. Like Deborah. It's 1989, Jonathan and I walk into this building. I'm wondering if I'm good enough to go back to church. And Frank, you're calling your minister by his first name, Frank, is preaching Women Who Run with the Wolves. Calling us to sing over our dead bones and bring our middle-aging spirits back to life. And my middle-aging spirit becomes a puddle of tears. And to top it off, his sacred scripture is poetry. Then it's 1990, a few days before Hanukkah and Christmas, and our son Ben is 5 years old, and his preschool needs a Santa for their Christmas party. And I say, my minister looks like Santa. And I ask him, having no clue at the time what a minister's life is in mid-December. And what does Frank say? Yes. So that morning, Frank is Santa, and Ben asks Santa for a specific Lego, can't remember what. And later, that same day, at UU Westport, there's a family Christmas craft, potluck, carols, sing-along. Ed is at the piano, and Frank Santa shows up. Thing is, this Santa already knows what Ben wants. It was our own special Christmas miracle. And that was Frank, dedicated to building this community one family at a time. And I trusted him. I trusted him with my spiritual life and my ministry. I want to briefly acknowledge the ministry shared with the wonderful staff for years here. And Frank had our backs, and I'd like to think we had his. He gave us cover, and leaving here was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But I had to know what kind of minister I was without any cover. I was honored to be asked back here at his retirement in 2013, and now this is another kind of leaving. I told him, and you this then, it's my exegesis on the Ruth Cordier poem that she wrote to him on her deathbed. I shared with him. People couldn't stand me. You stood me. It may be because you stood me. I am more standable. Okay, Frank, I talked to you then, and I think I'm talking to you now, and if not, somewhere else in the hearts of everybody in this room. Right? You stood us, Frank. You stood with us in times of sorrow and celebration, beside us at the grave and up in the garden. You stood up for us, and you stood up to us. You stood the love and the loss, the hope and the struggle and the disappointment and the joy. Sunday after Sunday, you stood and preached out your understanding, helping us understand ourselves, our lives, as real people, not saints. And you stayed steady when we could not stand ourselves, or each other, or our world. And it may be because you understood us and you stood us and you stayed with us that we became more understandable. And thank you. To your beloved family here today. Family, you lived a life of ministry with him. I know how a family lives the life of ministry with the minister, and you made it possible for him to be the minister he needed to be. And now we will stand his big leaving, and we can, because he showed us how. Love you, Frank.